This is a Kirkendall Barrett presentation. Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. It's time for another episode of The Reality Reading Rainbow, where I talk about books written by your favorite reality stars and try to make sense of them. I am your host, Les Kirkendall Barrett, and my co-host, the lovely Victoria, is away on assignment. She's working on something. She will be gone for a little while, but she will be back. So you got me. And so, yeah, you got me. You're stuck with me. And if this is your first time, welcome to the Reality Reading Rainbow. Yes, I talk about your favorite books written by reality stars and try to make sense of them. We primarily talk about the people on Bravo, because basically they write the most books. A lot of other reality stars do not write books, but just know that I'm going to branch out a little bit eventually and talk about some non-Bravo stars as well. But for now, Bravo just keeps on churning the books. And so that's what I will talk about the most. And this week is part 2 of Margaret Joesphs' book, Tuna Fish Taste on a Caviar Budget. And I'm actually really enjoying this book. Today, we're going to talk about chapters 2 and 3. And I'm going to talk about them here, and then I'm going to go and discuss more gossipy type stuff on the after show. And I don't know if you know this or not, but we do have an after show. It's on Patreon. And if you become a Patreon subscriber, you will have access to the after show. Now, when it comes to being a Patreon subscriber, what do I say? I mean, there is a wide range of subscriptions. Basically, it's pay what you can. It's whatever you want. So if you want to do $1 a month, you can do $1 a month. If you want to do more, we'll gladly take it. And yeah, I'll gladly take it. By the way, I want to welcome a new. Bear with me here because I'm doing this by myself. Do you like these reading glasses I got? I got these readers and this is for the people that are watching it on YouTube. Yeah, I got some new readers. So I would like to thank and welcome our new Patreon member. Let's see if I can find it here. I'd like to welcome our new Patreon member, Gina Anderson, to the Patreon family. Welcome. And like I said, the after show is kind of fun because that's where I get into more, the gossip, the down and dirty on things. But you know what? If I understand times are tough for people. I know a lot of people that aren't even working. So as much as I'd love the extra, $1 or so, if you don't have it, just continue listening to this one because I like having you around. Your presence is my present. So let's continue talking about this book, Tuna Fish, Caviar Dreams on a Tuna Fish Budget, starring Margaret Joesphs from The Real Housewives of New Jersey. So one of the things that I like to talk about when I do this podcast is the way that the housewife portrays herself in the book, the way that she acts on the show. And so far, with Margaret's book, I think the way that she portrays herself in her book is pretty much exactly like she portrays herself on the show. She's not putting on any airs. She's not trying to pretend to be anyone who she isn't. As a matter of fact, I got respect for Margaret because she's actually copping to stuff and owning stuff. And like, for example, later on in the chapters, she talks about her first marriage to Jan and how she cheated on him, and she totally cops to it. She totally takes responsibility for her actions. And so I'm liking that about Margaret. She's keeping it real. And maybe, the next time Erica Jane writes a book, which I hope is never, maybe the next time she writes a book, she could be honest too. Maybe she'll write a book after all this stuff blows over. Oh, did you all see on YouTube that Erica Jane through Garcelle's book, because Garcelle Bouvet has a new book coming out. Do you see how Erica Jane did a YouTube where she drops Garcelle's book in the garbage? No, Erica, your book was garbage. I had the displeasure of reading that shitty thing. That was garbage. Anyway, let's talk about, we're here to talk about Margaret. We're not here to talk about Erica. So we're going to talk about chapters 2 and 3 this week. So we left off talking about Margaret's childhood, and basically Marge Sr., her mother, the fabulous. Okay. Oh my God. Did you guys see the Real Housewives of New Jersey last week when they had Marge Sr.'s party? Marge Sr., Margaret's mother, by the way. Marge Sr. is 75 years old, and Marge Sr. is stunning. Stunning for a 75-year-old woman. She is amazing. She looks amazing. Seriously. But anyway, so we continue on. Margaret is in elementary school. And so she said one day she was in school. I think she was in kindergarten or first grade. And so they were sitting in a circle in her class, and the teacher was asking all of the kids, so what do you have for breakfast? What did you have for breakfast this morning? And so it gets to Margaret, and Margaret says, well, for breakfast, I had coffee and Oreos. Oh, she was in kindergarten. She said, for breakfast, I had coffee and Oreos. And she says the teacher was horrified. She said the teacher was absolutely horrified. And she said the teacher actually flipped out about, you can't have Oreos and coffee for breakfast. What are you drinking coffee for? You're only 5. But Margaret said that Marge Sr. used to let her drink coffee as a kid and Marge Sr.'s excuse was, well, we're European. So Margaret says that the teacher continued to flip out until one of her classmates, Rudolph, announced that he had hot dogs for breakfast. And so then all of the teachers' disgust went on to poor Rudolph. I wonder if they let him play any reindeer games after. I know, bad joke. Anywho, let's continue with this. So Margaret also said that when she was in kindergarten, when it came to nap time, she wasn't a good napper. She didn't like to take naps. She was hopped up, but she's hopped up from the coffee in the morning. So she said she was not a good napper. So Margaret, Margaret, the same teacher, Margaret ended up giving her, she wanted the teacher to kind of forget about the Oreos thing. So she brought the teacher a gift, and the gift was some expensive Estee Lauder perfume. And she said that she learned that from Marge Sr., because she said that Marge Sr. knew the art of a bride. She said that, Marge Sr. Taught her that gifts put people in the right state of mind when you fuck something up. And so Margaret learned how to give gifts, and she learned this little skill, which I do think is a skill. Someone's pissed off at you, you get them a fabulous gift, and then they become unpissed off at you. Hey, job done. Crisis averted, as far as I'm concerned. So, Margaret says that at home, the refrigerator was never full because Marge Sr. wouldn't always shop. Marge Sr. would forget to shop. Marge Sr. would spend her paycheck on clothes. So she said that, if you were to look in the refrigerator, you'd see cheese party snacks and alcohol. And that was pretty much it in the refrigerator. And Margaret says, oh, well, that's why she was so skinny as a kid. But her grandparents lived close by, Marge Sr.'s parents. And so Margaret said that she would always go to her grandparents for lunch. And they made sure that she was fed and they made sure that she was taken care of. So Margaret then says every Saturday, Marge Sr. would take her out to breakfast at the Waffle House, and Margaret would order a Rooty Tooty Fresh and Fruity. And she says Marge Sr. was actually kind of moody. So whatever mood that Marge Sr. woke up in was Marge Sr.'s mood. Margaret says that she's frugal today, and she learned a lot of that from the fact that Marge Sr. didn't really know how to save, and she'd blow money and squander their money. And so Margaret used that as an example of why you should be frugal and why you should save your money. And she said that, like, Marge Sr. was really good on impulsive buys. Like she said, one day Marge Sr. just decided that Margaret should take the piano. And so Marge Sr. went out and bought a piano. And she said that Marge Sr. wanted Margaret to be the next Liberace. Well, but Liberace was a gay man who wore fur coats. How could Margaret be the gay? Anyway. Margaret said that she actually mothered Marge Sr. She said that, like, basically the roles were reversed, and she was like the mother figure and Marge Sr. was the kid. And Margaret says that she thinks this is why she had anxiety as a kid, because she was basically responsible for stuff. Oh, she said that Marge Sr. took her to the movie theater to see The Exorcist when she was 6 years old. Okay. And then Margaret said that she would have nightmares for weeks after that. She'd wake up in the middle of the night. She said that, whenever Marge Sr. was acting weird, she'd blame it on her diet pills. But we all know that diet pills contain amphetamines. So there you have it. So Marge Sr. loved her diet pills. She says that Marge Sr. was always on a diet. And she said that, Marge Sr. loved to overshare. So she would put all their business out into the streets. And she said that, one time they were out in she said one time Marge Sr. had a hemorrhaged uterus, and she told Margaret about it. And Margaret was like this little kid, and Margaret was like, why is she telling me this? Like, I'm a kid. There's nothing I could do about this. And what else? Margaret also worried that Marge Sr. was going to die. Marge Sr. lived pretty fast and loose. And so, Margaret was the parental figure pretty much. Margaret was the mom. And so Margaret was like, as much as I love Marge Sr. and as much as Marge Sr. and I get along today and have this fabulous relationship, she was actually pretty irresponsible when I was a kid. Like, she was loving. She didn't abuse Margaret. She was very loving towards Margaret, but at the same time, she didn't take care of Margaret either. And if it wasn't for Margaret's grandparents who took up a lot of the slack, Margaret would have been in huge trouble, actually. So, Margaret was worried that Marge Sr. was going to die, but she said that her grandmother worried the same thing. And, but that being said, Marge Sr. was actually she protected Margaret, and no one could fuck with Margaret. If anybody would fuck with Margaret, Marge Sr. would step in. Like, for example, she said that, Margaret went to Catholic school, And she said that that a nun pulled Margaret's pigtails, because I guess Margaret has worn pigtails her entire life. Remember season 1 of Real Housewives of New Jersey when Margaret came in wearing pigtails? I guess Margaret loved wearing pigtails her entire life. So she said one day she's at school and one of the nuns pulled her pigtails, and Marge Sr. like went up to the school and cussed the nun out. And the nun didn't mess with Margaret anymore. So Margaret says that Marge Sr. wasn't good with older kids, but she said that Marge Sr. loved babies. Then Margaret says that when she's 7 years old, Marge Sr. had an abortion. And this is back when Marge Sr. was with her boyfriend, Wayne. But remember, like I said last episode, even though Marge Sr. had this steady boyfriend, Wayne, she'd cheat on him all the time with married men. So even though Marge Sr. would have Wayne as her boyfriend, she'd always have some married man on the side. She'd have a sugar daddy on the side. So Marge Sr. got pregnant by Wayne, aborted the baby, and it didn't matter to Wayne. Wayne thought that Wayne was in awe and just in love with Marge Sr. So it didn't matter what Marge Sr. did, Wayne would come back. So Marge Sr. and Wayne finally broke up, but Marge Sr. and Wayne are friends to this day. Wayne went on and got married. Margaret says that Wayne treats her to this day like a daughter. And so Margaret's still friends with Wayne. She's also friends with Wayne's wife. Wayne is a father figure to her. So that was good to hear, actually. Because Wayne did sound like a nice guy. Wayne sounded like a sucker, but he also seemed like he does sound like he was a nice guy as well. So the reason why Marge Sr. and Wayne broke up is because Marge Sr. left Wayne for yet another married man. And so the married man came into the household and Margaret hated him because, not only did he, come into the house and was the cause of Marge Sr. breaking up with Wayne, he would come into the house and try to boss Margaret around, and Margaret was not having it. And so Margaret really hated him. And, and Margaret says that, seeing how Marge Sr. lived her life, she made a promise to herself that's not how she was going to live her life. Okay, so now we're going to talk about chapter 3. Okay, so in chapter 3, Margaret talks about how she was sent home from school for not wearing underwear. And she says that Margaret actually Marge Sr. actually moved them to a better neighborhood. And she says that there were times that they ran out of food, they'd run out of heat, but Marge Sr. never ran out of face cream and lipstick. So Marge Sr. would go on a bunch of different extremes. Like she said, there was one time that Marge Sr. went on a plant kick and bought 35 plants all at once. She said that Marge Sr.'s bathroom looked like a makeup counter, like there was all sorts of makeup and it was always the current shades. She said that, when Margaret was a teenager, she said Marge Sr. bought her a waterbed. And Margaret said that she was sexually active as a teenager, so she would use the waterbed. So she then goes on to talk about one New Year's Eve, Marge Sr. took everybody to this place called the Manor. And she says, like, when Margaret said when she was a kid, sometimes she and Marge Sr. would go to the Manor and crash weddings. I think, you know what? Was the Manor the place? Because last episode on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Margaret threw a 75th birthday party for Marge Sr. And I think the party was at the Manor. I believe it was. But yeah, so Margaret said that when she was a kid, she and Marge Sr. would go and crash weddings and stuff and dance and just pretend like they were part of the group and eat the food and drink the drinks, and they never got caught. She said that Margaret said that when she became a teenager, she would sneak out of the house and go into the city, go into New York. She said that she and her friend would go to Limelight. Oh, she said she and her friend would hang out at the Limelight. And back in the 80s, I lived in New York for a while, so I used to go to the Limelight, which, for those of you who don't know, the Limelight was a church that they turned into a dance club. And they kept it looking like a church. Like they kept the pews, they kept the windows and everything, but it was like this funky dance club. I had fun at the Limelight. So Margaret was saying one time she and her friend, they were still underage. They went to the Limelight. They picked up guys. They went back to the guy's place, and her friend Katie they went back to the guy's house. And she said her friend Katie was supposed to sleep with this one guy, but got scared because the guy had a really big dick. Margaret's exact words, that he had a really big dick. And so Margaret actually was with, I think, his brother or his friend. But long story short, they decided to go home, and they'd stolen Marge Sr.'s car and crashed the car on the way back home. They got T-boned by someone. And so what Margaret said, what she did is she brought the car back home. She snuck it back into the garage and went to bed. And the next day, Marge Sr. woke up and said, "Oh my God, my car is wrecked." And Margaret pretended like she didn't know what happened, and she didn't get caught. Margaret was like, "Well, maybe someone stole your car and went joyriding in it." And Marge Sr. believed it. So, hey, more power to you, Margaret. Margaret says she loved roller skating. And then we find out, Margaret started working at an early age, started working in high school. She said that her first job was at a place called Stein Shoes, which was this upscale shoe store. And she was a salesperson, and she did really well at sales, but she said that the older women all resented her because she was so good at sales. And so she said, of course, she would spend her paycheck on the shoes, on her in-store discount. But she said, like, old married men would hit on her all the time. And so she ended up switching stores. And when she went to the new store, she would fool around with her boss named Victor. And she said Victor was very sexy. He would offer she said, everyone at her job would offer her Coke because it was the 80s. Can you imagine doing Coke and selling shoes? Anyway, so she said, like, it was the 80s. So her coworkers would all offer her Coke, even though she was like, I think 15 or 16 at this point. So she said that at the company Christmas party, she found out that Victor was actually not only married, but his wife was pregnant. And Margaret said that she was traumatized because at this party, she hugged one of her coworkers, and the coworker ended up having a heart attack after Margaret hugged him. So then Margaret went on and got a job at Bloomingdale's. And she said that she worked in the jewelry department, and she worked at Bloomingdale's for a few years. And then she had this friend named Nicole. And so her friend Nicole was married to this guy. And so so then her friend Nicole got her a job at a country club. And she said that's how, she learned about the finer things in life working at this country club. So she says that her friend Nicole's husband ended up hitting on her, and Margaret didn't want to sleep with him because she's like, no, because your wife is one of my good friends. But then she found out that the wife actually ended up leaving him and was also having an affair. So Margaret ended up sleeping with the guy named Jack. And so she still kept her job at the country club, but she didn't have to do anything. All she had to do was go and lay out by the pool all day, and she got paid as if she was working. Which, hey, if you're gonna do it right. So during this time, Margaret was still in high school. And so she said that she was famous for cutting class. She said that she didn't have to study for tests. Oh my gosh, everyone. I'm having that argument with my daughter right now because my daughter is in high school and she's saying that I don't need to study. And I'm trying to instill in her, you need to study no matter what. So I hope she didn't hear what I just said about Margaret coming from her, this room. She's in her room, but the walls in my place are paper thin. And I don't want that message to go out there. She needs to get her ass down and study. So, Margaret, don't mislead the kids. Anyway, so, Margaret said that she skipped so much school that she almost didn't graduate. Oh, so what happened though, and how she ended up graduating is she said she and her friend went to a club. She ran into her gym teacher. And so she and her friend started dancing with the gym teacher. The gym teacher hit on Margaret and the friend and ended up getting them drunk at this club. And so then Margaret blackmailed the teacher into changing their grade. And then just to make sure that she would pass, she got a friend to sneak into the office, and the friend went in and stole all of their cut slips. And that's how she ended up graduating high school. So then Margaret applied to FIT, which is a fashion college. She got in. She said she was the first generation of her family to ever graduate from college. She says her grandfather, who she was very close to, ended up dying around this time. And then she said her grandmother died a few months later of a broken heart, which I believe. My grandfather, this wasn't my grandmother, it was my step grandmother. My grandfather was married. His wife died. He died, and then his wife died 2 weeks later. So I am a big believer in dying of broken heart. Oh, and I have an uncle a few years ago. He died, and then his wife died a month later. So I totally believe that. Oh, so Margaret and Marge Sr. got an inheritance, but they went to Europe and just spent all the money, and they blew all the money. So, they went to Paris, they went to Budapest. In Budapest, Margaret hooked up with some guys. Then she went back. She went back to FIT, where she met her gay best friend, Raymond. She's still friends with Raymond. Raymond lives in Berlin. So Marge Sr. ended up giving Margaret a gold card. And that's, where Margaret used that gold card to buy all of her clothes. So then Margaret ends up getting a job at B. Altman, which is a very famous store. And she said that she had a boss named Larry who would always hit on her. And she thought that it was part of the deal that she had to have sex with him, because if you were a woman, she thought that you were obligated to have sex with your boss. And she said she didn't feel proud of it, but she did it. And, I'm glad that she mentioned this because it's like, we need to teach. I'm a father of a daughter, and, we need to teach our young ladies to have self-esteem. And, we need to teach them that, no, you don't have to sleep with your boss. You don't. And that's not part of your job. And I think that something like this needs to be talked about more with our girls, Oh, so then at the end, because Margaret thought that if she said no, that she'd be fired from her job. And that was the end of chapter 3. Oh, but then Margaret had a quote at the end of chapter 3. You will be put in situations you are uncomfortable with, make the best decision and move on. And that is the end of the book. Oh, no, it's not the end of the book. It's just the end of chapter 3. It is the end of the podcast, though. So I will be back next week with chapters 4 and 5. If you want to hear more, go, subscribe to our Patreon and go on and listen to our after show. And what else? If you want to get a hold of us, you can find us on Facebook at The Reality Reading Rainbow. You can find us on Instagram at The Reality Reading Rainbow. If you want to we have a Facebook group there. Or also, if you want to write us and drop us a line, you could do that at therealityreadingrainbow@gmail.com. And what else? Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah. So listen to the after show. And if you don't listen to the after show, I'll see you next week. So until next week, keep reading. Bye.